We were talking about two kinds of pleasures, namely Vedita Sukkha and Avedita Sukkha. Vedita Sukkha, pleasures which is connected with, associated with feelings or sensate pleasure, and Avedita Sukha, pleasures not perceived through senses, non-sensate pleasures. And as for the first one, Vedita Sukha, sensate pleasure, it is connected or associated with sense pleasures, because there is the addition of or mixing of raga, lust or craving, and this kind of pleasure is mixed pleasure, mixed with craving or lust, raga. And as for the other one, Avedita Sukha, it is not mixed with raga or lust. So, because it is mixed with raga, it is known as Sammesa Sukha, mixed pleasure. And because it is mixed, it is not pure, hence it is known as Aparisoda Sukha, impure pleasure, which most people desire. And there is a kind of pleasure which is better than this kind of pleasure, which excels this kind of pleasure which is not agitated, which is not affected by lust or craving, raga, nor any other defilements. It is calm, peaceful, unforsakable, unsatiable type of pleasure, known as Abyaseka Sukha. So, now the yogis are practicing Satipatthana. When they've come to the stage of intensive practice, they have become delighted with the practice, because their mind is not adulterated or mixed with lust, raga, or anger, dosa. Especially when one comes to this very powerful form of insight, which is at par or equivalent to the absorption of fourth jhana, fourth absorption. There's neither sukha nor dukkha, neither happiness or suffering. This is quite neutral, and this is known as santi, peaceful, because there's no agitation in the mind at this stage. And at this stage, it is insatiable kind of pleasure. It is known as paṇḍitā, excellent kind of pleasure, or santa, peace. Even then, there is involved the feeling, sense of feeling. Even that is involved with feeling. Not to mention when we are enjoying pleasures, sense of pleasures which is mixed with raga. So all kinds of pleasures which is mixed with, which is associated with feeling, sensate pleasure, are not desirable. So although there is no kills, no defilements involved, they arise and pass away, they're not so good, not so desirable. Only paṇḍitā Sukha is desirable, which is not agitated or affected by defilements. It is kind of pleasurable, which is insatiable, and it is unique, that kind of pleasure. So that kind of pleasure is none other than the cessation of mind and body, or psychophysical phenomena that arise through the six sense doors. No more arising and passing away, cessation of arising and passing away, psychophysical phenomena. Such is known as nirodha, extinction or cessation. Sanya is known as sanya vedita, nirodha. This kind of extinction devoid of perception and feeling. That's what Elder Sariputta explained to ascetic Udaya. Today we shall discuss about this subject. These two kinds of pleasures, namely pleasures connected with the five causes of sense desires, or five sense of pleasures, and even these mundane absorptions, attainment, samapatya, They are all connected with Chitta, Chaitasika, mind state, mental states, and materiality. And they come under Vedita Sukkha, pleasures or sensate pleasure perceived through senses. So only this is not yet, this is still connected with the rising and passing way of psychophysical phenomena. Therefore it is not yet Vedita Sukkha, non-sensate pleasure. Only at the cessation of mind and body, totally. That is Nirodha, cessation, extinction of mind body, together with the mind producer materiality, Chitta-Rupas, then can we call this kind of pleasure as Avedita Sukha, non-sensate pleasure, that is pleasure not perceived through the senses. So this Vedita Sukha, Avedita Sukha, although they come, this kind of Sukha, Kamadas, Ekanta Sukha, they are not dukkha, they are not suffering, they are pleasure, they come under pleasure. However, even when we are absorbed in these 8 forms of attainment, absorption and attainment, 8 Mahapadyas, and at the stage of very high stage of insight knowledge, Sankhara equanimity towards all formations, it is good with calmness, so this cannot be said as real good or desirable. Only when all mind body pass away can we call this Santa Dhala, this unique peace, and Panida Dhala, extremely excellent kind of pleasure. This attainment of extinction, Nirodha Samapatti, is only experienced by 2 individuals, namely Anagami and Arhants. Only 2 people out of these areas, noble ones, are able to experience or to be absorbed in Nirodha Samapatti, the attainment of extinction. When there cease to exist mind, mental states, and mind produce materiality at that moment. In the span of 7 days, in the case of human realm, at that time there's no mind state or mind produced materiality. But of course there are still karma produced materiality, that is materiality produced by karma, past actions, and materiality produced by veda, udija, rupa, and materiality produced by ahara, food. So there are 3 materialities, only karma, udu, and ahara produce materialities. And at that time, there cease to exist mind, mental state, and mind produced materiality. And at that moment, one is feeling the peace, this kind of cessation, peace of cessation or peace of cessation is experienced only by 2 individuals, Anagami, those who have attained the 3rd path, non-Notana, and Arahant, the one who has reached supreme holiness. This can only be experienced only in the realms of human sense planes and Brahma, material Brahma planes only. When it is from one is transformed from pavata to non-apavata, process to non-process. So even this bhavana citta, the meditative mind, comes to cessation, apavata, non-process. So this kind of cessation of mind body is none other than nibbana, and this is only, of course, ordinary folks, ordinary ariyas can also be absorbed in their own fruition. For instance, Sarabhana, the stream winner, and Sagaragami, the one's Ratana will be able to be absorbed in the fruition attainment, not ordinary folks, that means not Purujanas. So although they are absorbed in the attainment of fruition, the mind, they still have the mind in them. Because of the Allah consciousness, that is fruition consciousness. The fruition consciousness is still there. Only they are subduing or ceasing, causing the cessation of Citta, Cittasika and Citta Rupa. So the total cessation of mind, mental states and mind-produced materiality is at the stage of the absorption of Nirodha Samapatti, attainment of extinction. When one emerges from this Nirodha Samapatti, attainment of extinction, one also have these mind-body objects. One has this object. The mind, one begins to come to possess mind and mind objects. And those people who emerge from Nirodha Samapatti will give utterance, such as Nibbana is really pleasurable. So such people who emerge from the attainment of extinction, Nirodha Samapatti, would make this joyful utterance, Udana, as Sukkha Vata Nibbana. How extremely pleasurable is this Nibbana. Not only pleasure, but very extremely pleasurable, Sukkha Vata. That means it excels ordinary pleasures. And this, where does this pleasure come from? From Nibbana. And Nibbana has qualities. Now it is said that Sammasambuddha Disita, that means Buddha has discovered by himself and preached the Dhamma, what he has discovered. So this is Sammasambuddha, this epithet is unique. Buddha, ordinarily Buddha means knower. And knower means, in this case, know all, know everything. Whenever he reflects upon anything, he knows them. He knows it. So, with the Arahata Mega Jnana, the knowledge of the Arahata path, the fourth path, he was able to eradicate all defilements to the point of no return. Kilesa, defilements including moha, delusion, manifested as avijja, ignorance also involved in it, so that there's no such thing as simple unknowing or knowing wrongly. Because this delusion, the defilement of delusion, has been eradicated. So in the case of the Buddha, he knows everything which he reflects upon. So hence the expression Buddha, omniscient. When one is knowing, there are two kinds of things: knowing wrongly and knowing the truth. Knowing the wrong thing and knowing the truth. As for modern scientists and so on, they know truth as well as wrong things. So they may know wrong things, they may also know right things. So as for the Buddha, there's no such thing as wrong things that he knows only the truth. Hence this expressed with epithet Samma Buddha. So when he is knowing this, it is not the kind of knowledge gained from another person, another individual. In the case of Buddha, it's not so. It is some. That is epithet given. That means by himself. So this is omniscient knowledge which he gains by himself. self-enlightened Buddha, or fully self-enlightened Buddha. So after he has performed these paramis, perfections, such as beginning with the perfection of giving dana, and after he has fulfilled these perfections with the practice of the Dhamma, the Satipatthana Bhavana, he was able to attain path and fruit, up to the fourth path and fruit in stages. So with the fourth path knowledge, he was able to eradicate these defilements to the point of no return. So he knows, he is omniscient, he knows all. When he reflects upon it, he knows things, but these things are the truth, not the wrong ones that he knows. So after he has performed his parami, as a result of these perfections, he knows rightly, that is Sambuddha. Hence Sammasambuddha, fully self-enlightened, no omniscient knowledge, knowing everything which is knowable. And when he knows, it is the truth that he knows. Things which he had discovered by himself and preached with great compassionate feeling and with wisdom. This kind of pleasure that those who have attained, who have emerged from the attainment of absorbed Nirodha Samapatti, make this joyful utterance as pleasurable. This kind of pleasure has been discovered and preached by the Buddha. So just knowing this quality is inspiring. The Buddha himself, being omniscient, knowing himself, this kind of nibbana which he has discovered by himself. Hence this epithet omniscient. So this is a kind of nibbana which is free of suffering, cessation of suffering, which the Buddha himself realized for the practice of the way of mindfulness, as he said, practicing by guarding the mind with vigilant mindfulness of every arising, whatever arises in the body, practicing this mindfulness of the body, Kaya-Nupassana Bhavana, meditation of body, everything which arises in the body, and noting every sensation or feeling, good or bad, Vijnana-Nupassana Satipatthana, noting every thoughts and ideas which arise in the mind, Chitta-Nupassana Satipatthana, and noting every general activity, seeing, hearing, tasting, touching, and so on, Dhamma-Nupassana Satipatthana. So this is the practice of the four kinds of meditation, Satipatthana, in order to overcome these defilements. So in order to eradicate or overcome these defilements, impurities, we have to practice the insight practice known as Purvabhaga Mega Vipassana as a forerunner to the realization of path consciousness. And in the course of the practice of Satipatthana, we are eradicating or overcoming these defilements on a part-time basis. So the practice is to cultivate insight knowledge to overcome these impurities, such as the latent tendencies of impurities, anusaya kilesas, with insight knowledge, and overcoming obsessive defilements with the application of energy, mindfulness and concentration, Vyasati Samadhi, and also overcoming the transgressive type of defilements with the practice of sila, moral conduct, moral virtue. So if you are able to practice one of these contemplations and Vipassana, that is out of the four, any one of the four kinds of Satipatthana, this is tantamount to training, the three trainings, undergoing the three trainings of morality, concentration and wisdom, by which we overcome the three grades of defilements, namely gross, medium and refined. And they are subdued, overcome on a part-time basis, and gradually overcoming them until we reach the climax of the practice. Until at the maturity of insight knowledge, the Buddha was able to realize the path and fruition knowledge step by step. The four kinds of path and four kinds of fruit, by which all kilesas, all defilements are eradicated to the point of no return. So Buddha himself has practiced and discovered the practice, the method, and preached the method to all beings for this peace and happiness, for their peace and happiness. Hence, Samma Sambuddha Desika. It is a pleasure preached by the fully self-enlightened Buddha. And there's another quality assigned to this Nibbana as Asoka, free of Soka, free of grief, absence of grief. In Nibbana there is no grief, there's no cause for grief, because there's no relatives, you have no relatives there, you have no wealth, you have no material belongings there, so you have no cause for grief. Hence the epithet Asoka, free of grief and sorrow. And also Viraja, impurities, free of impurities, such as greed, hatred and delusion, and things like pride, conceit, envy, avarice and so on. These are like dust. When you are overcome by defilements, it is like dust falling on you. So you become free of kilesa dust. At Nibbana, you become purified, totally purified. One American author called Dale Carnegie has written a book a long time ago, How to Live a Life Without Worries, in which he only writes how to practice this, what is known as Vipassana, the power of intellectual reasoning, which can eradicate grief only temporarily. What the Buddha has preached is to realize total peace, which is assured peace, asoka, non-grief, to the point of no return. Anger, ill will, or domanassa, mental distress, so that there will be no soka, no grief or sorrow. So there's no cause for sorrow, there's no relatives there, no wealth, no material wealth to worry about. You're free of grief or sorrow, and also you'll be free of views, wrong views, views and doctrines. There are no views or doctrines. You don't get involved in such things. And there is also no cause for disruption of moral virtue. So there's no soka, no grief. How nice it is. It is the guaranteed or assured kind of non-grief, which is guaranteed by, which is assured by the practice of Satipatthana. You'll be free of impurities, that also is assured. You can enjoy this khema, another quality of Nibbana, free of bondage, free of ties. The root cause of ties and bondage lies in three things: greed, wrong views and delusion. Delusion, not knowing the truth, knowing wrongly, and not seeing things in a clear-cut manner, because it is covering up the truth. The truth cannot be known. This leads to greed, lobha. And then also you hold the view of self or soul, which is experiencing, which is doing these things for experiencing things as atta, leading to atta deity, view of self or soul. So these three things tie up, bind up the beings so that they will not escape the round of birth and rebirth, samsara. Such it is known as yoga, is ties or bondage. You're binding them together. So you are working towards the freedom of these ties, freedom of bonds. Hence, this kind of nibbana can be said as free of ties, or bondage-free area. So animals like ox, cow, or horse, cattle or horse, which are tied to the carriage, for them to draw this carriage, so that they cannot move away from this cart or carriage. They are tied down or yoked to the yoke. So too with the beings. They are moving from one existence to another, one existence in which they see, hear, taste, touch and so on, live, move, place, rise, fall, all sorts of things. There's some mind, body, mental and physical phenomena are arising. And then they go to another existence where they see, hear, taste, touch and so on. And this is going around like a wheel in the machine. So beings are compared to this cattle and horse, which are tied down to the carriage so that they cannot move. They are not free to move. And moreover, this cause and effect, as a result of cause, there is effect. Effect in terms of the new existence, not see the flaws or disadvantage of the existence, suffering of existence. One is said to be overcome by delusion, moha, not knowing the truth, knowing wrongly, leading to craving, which is tanha, lobha, greed. And because they don't know the disadvantages or the defects of existence, they may perform good things. If they perform good things, they are reborn in good existence, where they will be subject to old age, disease and death. And if they perform bad deeds, akusalas, they will be reborn in unwholesome, evil existences, where also they will be subject to old age, disease and death. And then also the results of wrong views, one is also reborn in new existences as the effect of the cause. Effect, and two kinds of effect. One is the rebirth consciousness, and another thing is the process, the continuation of life. So in this way, one is rotating, going around, revolving in the round of birth and rebirth, because one is tied down to this. Hence, this is known as yoga. So it is like a yoke or some knot of existence, existential knot, you may call it, and it is associated with suffering. There's much suffering in the round of rebirths, birth and rebirths. In the case of Nibbana, it is free of this yoke or yoga, ties or bondage, and it is safe. It is a land of safety. Hence the expression khema. Hence this expression samasabodha disitam asokam virijam khemam. With these four epithets, it is extremely pleasurable. Why is the cause? Because it is free from existential suffering. It has come to the cessation of existential suffering. Hence it is extremely pleasurable. So there are things to be talked about existential suffering, how to overcome them, suffering related to defilements, suffering related to sankharas, formations, that is actions performed, good or bad. If you do good, you get good, but good existence. If you do bad, if you do bad things, you'll be reborn in evil existences. In this way, you are bound to suffer. Now in Nibbana, there's no such thing as existential suffering. We shall continue this tomorrow.